So we've talked a lot about how your brain is simply trying to protect you from what it believes is a threat. So let's just review exactly how this all goes down in your brain and your body. First, you have an experience. Then your brain asks, am I safe? Your nervous system predicts whether or not you are safe. It activates protection, which is going to be one of these adaptive strategies that you've leaned into over the years. Then you experience that pattern: overthinking, overreacting, shutting down. But notice what isn't part of this sequence. You never decided what you were going to do. It just happened. You never said to yourself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to overthink my way into an oblivion until I can't think anymore, and then I just have to collapse into bed rot all weekend long. You never thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ruin this conversation by overreacting to something someone says. Or, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reread this text over and over and over and over and over, and I'm going to create so much stress and anxiety and fear of rejection and abandonment in my head that I'm going to actually react in ways that cause people to want to abandon me because I'm acting. You see how that happens? It's exhausting, right? No one ever says, you know what? I'm going to sabotage myself, my experiences, my relationships in some way. Because usually your nervous system gets there before your brain does. Which is why saying you can think your way out of it is totally inaccurate. Just notice the goal is always the same: protection. The thing that changes is the strategy that we're using. Sometimes we're overthinking. If I think hard enough, maybe I won't get hurt. Maybe I can predict all the different mistakes that I could make and then have a plan B for all of them. Maybe I'll avoid rejection or hurt in some way, or I can get rid of this crippling uncertainty that I'm dealing with. Uncertainty. Or we might overreact by thinking, well, if I respond quickly, I can protect myself. I can get control. I can defend myself. I can shut this down somehow so it doesn't spiral out of control. Or we might go into shutting down. If I disappear, no one can hurt me. If I never tell anyone what I need, no one can ever tell me no, or that I don't deserve to have my needs met. Different strategies, same goal, always protection. Unfortunately, we do this so often that sometimes the strategy becomes the struggle. The thing that helped keep us safe at one point now keeps us stuck. If you think about this, like the pandas, right? Bamboo saved them. It kept them alive in a time of adaptation. But because they never put it down, and they never went back to meat when it was available, they never adapted into better sources of nourishment, now they're stuck. All they want is bamboo. And now they need humans to protect them because they can't really function. They can't protect themselves anymore. This is exactly what our adaptations can do to us. They serve a protective function. Sometimes they're pretty effective. And then when we don't need them anymore, and we either don't think to put them down, we don't know that we should put them down, we don't even realize what we're doing half the time, those same strategies become what keeps us stuck. Overthinking, when taken too far, creates so much anxiety. People-pleasing creates resentment when we're always putting aside our own needs in service of someone else, and we don't say what we need because we're trying to avoid conflict. We're trying to appear like we don't need very much so that people won't reject us. Whatever the reason is, we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to cause a problem, so we stifle our needs and we people-please, and then what happens? We start to get mad that nobody's listening to us, and now those people are bringing up their gripes, but I didn't bring up mine. Why should they be able to have their problems solved and their needs met if I didn't say anything about mine? Now I gotta be bothered by their needs. Oh, this kind of thing happens in couples all the time, but really it happens everywhere. Shutting down creates disconnection. When you hide away from people that you need to be communicating with, or hide away from problems that you need to be resolving, you're disconnecting yourself from the very people that are supposed to show up for you, that are supposed to create solutions with you. you're not resolving those issues. They're just festering and getting infected beneath the surface, creating disconnection. None of these strategies are inherently bad, but they can become disconnecting, difficult struggles for us if we don't learn to put them down when we don't need them anymore and to adapt into a strategy that is more supportive and leads to better outcomes long term. There's this old Bob Newhart skit. I think it was on Mad TV. And this woman comes into his office and she's like, "Doc, I need to talk to you about what's going on with me." And he's like, "Hold on. I have the solution. It's only 2 words. I only need you to pay me $5 or something like that. $5 for 2 words. Sit down, tell me your problem, and I will fix it." And she's like, "Well, I can't sleep at night. I can't stop thinking. Every time I drive, I'm so scared I'm going to hit someone. And I have this crippling anxiety and I can't function in my life." She's going on and on and on and on. And he's like, "I hear you. I have the solution. Lean in, come here, come closer, come closer. It's 2 words. Stop it." And that was a skit. And it was funny. You should go watch it. But I remember years ago when I was a member of a high demand religion, and there was an authority figure in this high demand religion who gave a talk. And he said that seriously. He said, "Just stop it. Stop. Stop doing the things that you're doing if they're not helping you." And it's not that easy, folks. It is not that easy. You can't just stop what you're doing. It is an effort. It took you a long time to develop these coping mechanisms. It's going to take you some intentional focus and time to undo them and replace them with something different. So this is where, we become incredibly unhelpful when someone we love comes to us and says, "Hey, I'm dealing with this emotion." And we say, "Well, just stop doing that. Don't be so emotional. Just quit it. You don't really need that. You're fine." It's so dismissing. It's so devaluing, and it's really demoralizing to be on the other side of that as a person who is trying to connect by sharing their emotions and they get shut down and told to stop it. Now, if you're saying stop it because you're Bob Newhart and you're trying to be funny, that's fine. But if you're saying stop it and you actually mean it, any form of stop it, like just calm down. Oh, there's no way to make somebody madder than to tell them when to calm down when they're dysregulated. Just remember, it's not that easy. When there's a threat in your house, when, the fire alarm goes off, you don't just smash the fire alarm. Although I have done that before. I did do that. With a broom, I'm not saying it was a good idea. I'm just saying I've done it before. The smoke alarm isn't trying to annoy you. It's not trying to be a problem. It's saying, "Hey, something's going on." By the way, I smashed mine because there wasn't anything going on. It just wouldn't stop chirping. And I was too dysregulated at the time to get a ladder and get up there and figure out a solution and all. I was just so, yeah. I did that. I'm not saying I'm proud of everything I've done. That's why I'm here, because I went through those moments of absolute dysregulation. The alarm's going off. We don't smash the alarm. There's no off switch to our anxiety, overthinking, overreacting, all of that. Sometimes our systems are actually detecting real danger. And I want to be really careful here to clarify that, because in all of this talking about how our survival systems adapted to sometimes overcorrect and overpredict danger and hyperfixate on danger when perhaps it's not there, I don't want to overlook the fact that you actually contain inherent wisdom and intuition in your body. Sometimes that intuition is hijacked when we're dysregulated, and the intuition goes, "Boop, boop, 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 things are wrong, everything's bad, this is not good, you need to be safe, get out of here, do something." And when we're in dysregulation, we can't trust our intuition quite as much as we can when we're calm. It doesn't mean always can't trust it, but we have to be more cautious, and we need to learn how to sift out what's dysregulation and what is intuition. What is my body perhaps right about? And what do I need to come to with new skills to find safety in? Either way, through any of these things we're talking about, remember, your first response is not judgment, criticism, frustration, rejection, and what's the word I'm looking for? Resistance to what's going on. Your first responses need to be acceptance of what's here and becoming curious about it. Asking yourself questions. Am I dysregulated? Do I need to take a minute here? What am I dysregulated in, and how do I cope with that dysregulation before I jump to assumptions? We're going to talk about all of that later on in the course, but for right now, just want to make something very clear. Your adaptations came about as a result of your environment, and they're not always wrong, but we do need to learn to understand them better, to understand what they were trying to protect, so that we can stop fighting with ourselves and decide whether we still need that same level of protection or whether we need to adapt into something else. And this is not a process of fighting with ourselves. This is a process of becoming aware of what's going on and retraining ourselves. So if you've carried shame about these patterns, if you think about the way you used to be, like my mama with the smoke detector, you're going to feel some cringe, you're going to feel some shame, and that's okay. Let that be there. What that shame is telling you is that you want to do something different. And let's try putting a little bit of that shame down and replacing it with compassion and curiosity, and remembering that we've done the best we could with what we had at the time. I had this mother who was working with her family, and they were upset with some of the ways that she had handled them when they were younger. And she said, I can only cook in my kitchen with ingredients that I have. And now that I have new ingredients, I'm going to do something different. When you know better, do better. But when you didn't know better, you can't hold yourself accountable to the standard of today because you didn't know better then. So remember always to bring compassion and curiosity to this process. And remember that these adaptations that you made, this behavior that you showed in the past, and maybe even in the present, it's not who you are. It's just what you had to practice to stay safe. And practiced patterns can be practiced differently. And that's where we're headed next.